Go to a mirror, any mirror. Look at your face. Take a good long look. Now I want to tell you something that might bother you a little. That face you just looked at, nobody else has ever seen it. Not your mother, not your best friend, not your husband or wife of 40 years. Not once in your entire life has another human being seen the face that you see. Think about that. You have walked around for decades inside a head. You have a pretty strong opinion about what your face looks like. And every single opinion you have about your own face was formed from looking at something other people have never seen. It sounds like a magic trick. It isn't. It's just optics and biology and a few strange things our brains do when nobody is watching. But to get to the strange part, we have to start with something very simple. So let me ask you an innocent question, and I want you to answer it honestly, because most people get this one wrong. When you look in a mirror, what does the mirror actually do? Go on. Say it out loud if you like. Most people will answer something like, the mirror flips me left to right. Your left hand appears where your right hand was. Your left cheek is on the right side of the image. You raise one arm, and the person in the glass raises the other. Left becomes right. Right becomes left. Everybody knows this, and everybody is wrong. The mirror doesn't flip you left to right. The mirror doesn't even know what left and right are. Left and right are things your brain invents. Your brain has a strong sense of a body with a left side and a right side, and when you see a reversed image, you impose that map onto it. But the mirror didn't do that. The mirror did something much simpler and much weirder. The mirror flipped you front to back. Let me show you what that means. Picture yourself holding up a piece of paper with some writing on it. You hold it with the writing facing you, where you can read it. Now you walk toward a mirror and you watch the reflection. The writing appears backwards, and you think, the mirror reversed the writing horizontally. But look at what actually happened. You held the paper up with the writing facing you. The mirror's job is to show every piece of the scene as though light were bouncing from it behind the glass. The side of the paper closest to you, the side with the writing, is now on the far side of the reflection. The blank back of the paper is facing toward you in the image. The mirror didn't flip the writing left to right. It didn't touch left and right at all. It flipped the paper through itself along the line running from you to the mirror. If the universe had a preferred direction in that room, it would be the one pointing from your nose to the glass. That is the axis the mirror inverts. Everything along that axis gets reversed. Your nose, which pokes toward the mirror, now pokes toward you in the reflection. Your spine, which points away from the mirror, now points away in the opposite sense. It is a flip through a plane, not a rotation around an axis. Up is still up. Down is still down. The mirror doesn't change those, and it doesn't change left and right either. The only thing it changes is depth. What was close becomes far. What was far becomes close. So why does it feel like left and right are being swapped? Here is why. When you look at your reflection, the thing looking back at you looks like a person. So your brain automatically assumes this is a person standing in front of you, facing you. And a person facing you has a mental left and right that are reversed from your own. Their right hand is on your left side. That is just what it is like to face another human being. So when your reflection raises what is, for you, the right hand, your brain sees it as the person facing you raising their left hand. You slap the face-to-face map on top of a physical flip that had nothing to do with left and right. The physics does not mention left and right. Your brain does. If you want a proof that's almost a parlor trick, try this. Lie down on your back and put a mirror flat on the ceiling looking up at you. Now the axis from you to the mirror is not horizontal. It is vertical. And guess what? The image of your body in that mirror isn't flipped left to right. It isn't flipped up to down either. It's flipped along the new axis, from your chest to the glass. The reflection's toes still point the same direction yours do. The reflection's head is still at the same end, only depth is swapped. And your brain, confused, doesn't bother calling it a left-right flip anymore because there is no face-to-face meeting happening. The physics is the same. The mental overlay is different. That is all that changed. This is the first surprise, and most people walk around their whole lives without ever noticing it. The mirror does not reverse you horizontally. It reverses you along the line of sight, and you have been taught, through thousands of casual glances, to translate that flip into a horizontal swap, because that is the easiest way for a brain that knows about faces to make sense of the image. Good. So now we know one thing. Whatever the face you see in the mirror is, it is not your real face. It is a through-the-plane flip of your real face. If your face were perfectly symmetric, this wouldn't matter. A perfectly symmetric face looks the same after you flip it. But human faces are not symmetric, not even a little. Take a real hard look. One eyebrow sits higher than the other. One nostril is slightly wider. The tip of the nose is not perfectly centered. One corner of the mouth pulls up more when you smile. One ear is closer to the top of the head than the other. Your jaw is probably stronger on one side than the other, because you prefer chewing on one side when you eat. If you have a scar, a mole, a crooked tooth, a dimple, a freckle, a chipped eye tooth, all of these are on one side. If you part your hair, it parts one way, not the other. The asymmetries pile up, one on top of another. A human face, under honest inspection, is a lopsided, crooked, one-of-a-kind arrangement of lumps and textures. The left half of your face, taken by itself, is a different face from the right half. If a careful person took a photograph of you, cut it down the middle, and made a symmetric face by mirroring the left half onto the right, and another by mirroring the right onto the left, you would end up with two different people. Neither of them would be you. And neither of them would look quite right. So the reflection in the mirror is not just a picture of you. It is a picture of a person whose asymmetries are on the wrong sides. The little mole that actually sits under your right eye appears, in the mirror, under the left eye. The crooked tooth that leans one way in life leans the other way in the glass. The hair parting you think of as your hair parting is actually the hair parting of a stranger who is the twin of someone who doesn't exist. That is the second surprise. You have never, not once, looked at your own face. You have only ever looked at a subtly flipped stranger who lives inside glass and water and polished metal. That stranger is the only face you think you know. All right, so let's say you want to see the real one. You grab a camera. You point it at yourself. Now the camera does not do what the mirror does. The camera records the light that leaves your face and enters the lens, and it stores it on film or on a sensor, and when you look at the picture you see yourself the way somebody standing where the camera was would have seen you. No flip. No reversal. The camera gives you the view a real human observer would have. This is you as others see you. And here is the part that kicks people. When they see that picture, they almost always hate it. They say, "That doesn't look like me." They say, "I take bad pictures." They say, "The camera adds 10 pounds," or "That's not my good side," or "I can't stand the way I look in photographs." Some people tense up so hard before a picture is taken that they cannot look natural in any of them. Why? Why on earth would a faithful picture of a person look less like that person than a flipped one? This is the answer, and it is a real answer, not a hand wave. Your brain has seen the flipped version, the mirror version, thousands of times, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, if you are the sort of person who checks the mirror a lot. Every toothbrushing, every haircut, every glance before leaving the house, every reflection in a shop window, a polished spoon, the dark screen of a television set, the side of a kettle. Your brain has built up a very strong model of what your face looks like, and that model was built entirely from flipped inputs. When you look at a regular photograph, your brain compares the photo to the stored model. And all the asymmetries are on the wrong side. The eyebrow that sits a little higher is now higher on the opposite side. The mole is in the wrong place. The mouth crooks the wrong direction. Your brain does a calculation, not a conscious calculation, a perceptual one, a thing that happens in a fraction of a second, and it says, "This is almost me, but something is off." And the feeling that comes out the other end of that calculation is the feeling of wrongness, not quite you, a little uncanny, a little unflattering. The photograph does not match the inside of your head, and your brain, trusting the inside of its own head more than the photograph, declares that the photograph is wrong. You think the camera is lying. The camera is telling the truth. The mirror is the liar. But the mirror has been lying to you your whole life, and you have grown to trust it, the way a person who grew up eating too much salt comes to trust salty food and finds unseasoned cooking bland. This phenomenon has a name. It is called the mere exposure effect, and it was studied quite a lot by a fellow named Robert Zajonc starting in the late 1960s. He showed that people tend to prefer things they have seen before, even if they don't consciously remember seeing them. The more you've been exposed to something, the more you like it. The effect shows up with pictures, with shapes, with words, with melodies, all kinds of things. And some researchers, Mita and Dermer and Knight, ran a very simple and very cruel experiment in the late 1970s. They took a photograph of each of their volunteers and printed it two ways. One print was the ordinary unflipped photograph. The other print was flipped, like a mirror image. They showed both prints to each volunteer and asked which one they preferred. The volunteers overwhelmingly chose the flipped print, the mirror version. It looked more like them, more natural, more attractive. Then the researchers showed both prints to the volunteers' close friends and family members and asked which looked more like their friend. The friends picked the normal print every time, because the friends have been seeing the real face their whole friendship. They have the right model, you have the flipped model, and the two of you cannot agree on which picture is the better likeness, because neither of you is looking at what you think you are looking at. So the face you believe is your face is not the face your friends have spent years learning. And the face in the photograph, which does look like your friend's face of you, doesn't match your own internal picture. Everyone who loves you loves a face you have never seen. You love a face they have never met. That is 3 surprises. We are not done. We are not even close to done. I said the camera tells the truth. That was not quite correct. The camera tells a truth. Many, many truths. Different truths. And which truth it tells depends on a thing you have probably never thought about, which is the focal length of the lens. Look at what this means. Imagine you have 2 cameras. They both have sensors. They both have lenses. But one of them has a short lens, what photographers call a wide angle, and the other has a long lens, what they call a telephoto. You use each of them to take a photograph of the same person's face. You stand at different distances to fit their face in the frame the same amount. With the short lens, you have to stand very close. With the long lens, you stand far away. The photographs you get are not the same person. They are drastically different people. With the short lens, close up, the nose looks big. The ears look small. The forehead and chin look a little pulled back. The face feels like it has been pushed forward in the middle and dragged backward at the edges. It looks a little like a funhouse mirror. With the long lens standing far away, the nose looks normal-sized. The ears look correct. The face feels flatter, like a coin, with everything at roughly the same apparent depth. Why? Because of plane geometry. When the lens is close to the face, the nose is, in relative terms, much closer to the lens than the ears are. Suppose the nose is about 6 inches from the lens, and the ears are about 9 inches. That is a difference of 1.5 to 1. Things that are closer look bigger. The nose takes up more of the frame than it should, because it is so much closer than the ears. Now move the lens far away. Say you stand 12 feet from the person and use a long lens to zoom in. Now the nose is 12 feet away and the ears are 12 feet and a few inches away. The difference in distance is trivial compared to the total distance. The nose and the ears come out at nearly the same relative size. The face looks flat, balanced, and to most observers, more natural. Here is where this gets personal. Most self-portraits, the kind people take by holding a small camera at arm's length in front of themselves, are taken with a short focal length lens from about 1.5 feet away. The nose is the closest thing to the lens. The ears are much farther. Your nose in such a portrait looks bigger than it really is. Your ears look smaller. Your face appears wider in the middle and narrower at the edges. It is a funhouse distortion. Professional portrait photographers, the people who take wedding pictures and studio portraits and magazine covers, know about this. That is why they use long lenses and stand across the room. They want the face to look like a face instead of a cartoon. They want the nose to be the nose, not a nose amplified by ignorant geometry. So the same face, in the same light, in the same second, looks like two different people, depending on how far the camera is. Now ask yourself a simple question. What distance does a real human being stand at when they look at your face in the ordinary course of things? In conversation, maybe 3 to 6 feet. In a crowded room, 5 to 10 feet. Across a table at dinner, about 3 feet. Rarely closer than 2 feet, unless you are about to kiss them or whisper something, and even then only briefly. So the face your friends actually see, the face that enters their eyes hundreds of times a year, is more like a long-lens portrait than a close-up self-portrait. Every time you take a picture of yourself with a camera held at arm's length, you are producing a distorted version of your face that no human who has ever spoken to you has actually seen. It is a valid optical projection. It is also a projection that real biological observers essentially never make on you. The camera tells a truth, but it is the truth of a geometry your friends do not use. That is the fourth surprise. Not all photographs of your face are the same face. The same lens produces different faces at different distances. The nose you see in the bathroom mirror held 18 inches from your face is a different nose from the one in your passport photograph, which is a different nose from the one in a close-up snapshot. They are all geometrically valid. Only 1 or 2 of them correspond to what another human being, looking at you from conversation distance, actually takes into their eyes. Layer by layer, we are uncovering more trouble. But we are still talking about photographs, as if the problem is the camera. Let us set the camera aside for a while and think about what it means for an eye, a real, wet, biological eye, to look at a face. An eye is a lens and a sensor. The lens focuses light. The sensor, which we call the retina, absorbs that light and sends signals to the brain. In that sense, an eye is a camera. But it is a camera with an astonishing number of strange features that no photographer would ever design. For one thing, the retina is not a flat grid of identical pixels. It is a curved sheet with a tiny central spot, called the fovea, where the resolution is very high, and everywhere else the resolution is much lower. You only see sharp detail in a small patch at the center of your gaze. Everywhere else is blurry, color poor, and low resolution. The rest of your visual field is built from scraps. The trick is that your eye is always moving. It flicks from one place to another several times a second, in little darting motions called saccades. Between the saccades there are quick drifts and microtremors, all of them happening below your awareness. Your brain takes all these scraps of high-resolution data from 100 different directions and stitches them into what feels, experientially, like a full, rich, crisp picture of the world in front of you. It isn't. The picture you experience is a construction. Your brain has filled in most of it from memory, from expectation, from rapid relooking.